Oh my God. Today, the guest that I have has spent over 30 years in IT, 25 of them dedicated entirely to transforming healthcare organizations. And she's led more than 1,000 training sessions, keynotes, and speaking events. She's the number one international best-selling author, a CTO, a global delivery executive, and was named Mentor of the Year by Consulting Magazine. But perhaps what makes her truly remarkable isn't the title or the accolades, guys. It's the philosophy she lives and leads by. That is Unapologetic Authenticity Podcast. A Harvard Business School alumni and a champion for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Please welcome the one and only Emily Carlson. Thank you so much for being
Oh,
here, Emily.
wow. Thank you for that.
You
That
you
was
deserve more,
lovely.
but this is so much of my research about you.
Oh, no, that's lovely. Thank you so much for that introduction.
That. So, Emily, let's start with that, right? Powered by Authenticity podcast. How did you figure that out? Because I people keep asking me, why podcast? There's so many out there. But what is
Mhm.
that uniqueness that you bring to the table? And what was your vision starting that podcast?
Yeah, and it's funny that the podcast has grown and evolved over the years. My last corporate job, so I'm independent now. I own my own IT consulting firm. And one of the things that I absolutely loved at my previous role was hosting their podcast.
Yeah,
I fell in love with the connection and the impact that you can make through conversation.
right.
Conversation is powerful.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
so when I lost my job, I was like, okay, well, I have time now. Let's think this through.
Yeah,
And we were talking about our friend Jacob Brown as we were getting to know each other.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
I had gone through a market like a branding course with Jacob, and out of about 20 or 30 words that were on screen, you basically broke down exercise by exercise what it was that truly you were, what were things that you wanted to be known for, what makes you
right.
passionate, what drives you. And
Mhm.
a couple of those were empower and authentic for me.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so I put them together and I was like, okay, I am powered by authenticity. Like the unfortunate part when you meet me is you get me. Like there's no
Isn't
hiding
that
behind
beautiful?
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do the same with my guests. I wanted
Yeah.
them to
Yeah.
come and have a cup of coffee, a glass of wine, meet, talk about their journeys. A lot of the
Yeah.
people that we have on the show,
Yeah.
they've overcome something. They've overcome a job change, a financial change,
Right.
sobriety,
Right.
you know, things that most people, if they're in the moment, they want to hear that others have made it. They want to
Right.
hear the tools,
Yeah.
what they were feeling, because maybe it helps them understand what they're feeling. So that's the platform.
Yeah.
Gosh, we started, we're like, we're just going to have women in tech. And by the second episode, somebody said to me, "No, please, can't you come to other verticals? Can't we look at
Oh,
it?" And
yeah.
I would say the growth over the past year has been so substantial, and just the stories and the people who have
Right.
come on. And I get chills just thinking about some of the stories and the journeys that we've been honored, truly honored to share with our audience.
That is so beautiful. You know, that is one thing that as you were talking about it, I can relate. I can relate
Mhm.
that as I was telling you, just less than a year baby. We're still
Yeah.
growing and learning. But these conversation tells you something,
Hmm.
changes you something, shifts you something. Jacob Brown is his story was one of the story that kind of shifted me. Like
Hmm.
in the sense, write a letter for yourself. 6 months, where you want to be in 6 months, and then don't touch it. Keep it aside. I
Hmm.
want to. I'm waiting for the June 6th to open that letter to see where I landed. but but it does change your life. It does give you, or you get groomed through this discussion, and you have a positive impact to others. Totally
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing I'll say about the writing of the letter, or
Yeah,
even I literally have a sticky note here of things for myself of,
yeah,
positive reaffirmation. Manifest the hell out of it. Like
yeah,
really make
yeah,
it happen. You're putting it to
right,
paper. You
right.
start that by putting it in the universe. Now just
Yes,
go tell everybody about it. Make that 6 month letter. When you get there and you open it up, you're like, I can go bigger the next 6 months. Like, look at what
there
I
you
was
go.
able to do,
Yeah, right. And you start trusting yourself, right?
Yeah,
Believing
yeah.
in yourself. So, what does unapologetically authentic actually looks like on a hard day for you?
Oh, um, yeah, I'm gonna be honest and truthful and who I am to my core. Some days
Yeah,
I will say, especially my IT consulting realm of my life, that can be tough. There's challenges that you face when you're over budget.
yeah.
Timelines are a mess. I
Mm,
honestly just I say it like it is. Some
yeah,
people that can rub the wrong way, but for me, I have to do things the way that I know are the right way. And if I try to
right,
cover them up, if I try to you know, apologize for something that really wasn't my fault. That doesn't feel good. I don't feel good. I'm already having a rough day. So
right.
why would I add on top of that? So
Yeah,
for me,
yeah,
being unapologetically authentic on a daily basis really does mean showing up, being true to myself, being true to my core values on those rough days. Go back and visit every single one of those, maintain that even through those hard, challenging conversations, and then make yourself a bowl of popcorn and a glass of wine and let it go behind you because tomorrow's a different day and it's going to be better. You can feel it.
love it. Love it. I truly love the way you're saying it. So let's talk about your book, right? I mean, I know you
Mhm.
were just talking about that you wrote a book. So help
Yeah.
our audience understand what's the message you wanted to give through that book?
Yeah, so the evolution of leadership in STEM, women catalyzing change. There was myself and a couple of other authors. We contributed to the book. And really, what we wanted to say are we've been through the hard things. We've been in an industry that is underrepresented by women for a very long time.
Yes.
We've we haven't been welcomed at the table. There are
Yeah.
still days
Yeah.
now where I log into a call. I'm the only woman. I'm talked over. I'm many different things, but we want people to know, we want the younger generation to know, we want people of the same age to know you
Right.
can change things, like keep
Right.
going. And that was really
Right.
the message. Our experiences, for me, I wrote out like several courses of action that people could take, don't back down, be confident, even when and that's hard, right? I like to say it's not imposter syndrome. You're just that damn good. Like you've got
Right.
this. And that was the messaging that I we all wanted in that book was that we know that there's going to be days where you're talked down to, where you're told you don't have a seat at this table. We were as well, but we sat there anyways. We made our elbows broader. We took up more space than
Yeah.
anybody else because we
Right.
deserve to be there. So that's really the message of the book. I've got another one coming out as well that talks about the art of STEAM. And so my art is podcasting and
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
storytelling can mean and positively impact within the STEAM career fields. I mean, I connect what I learn on my podcast from my guests all the
Right.
time into my leadership career in IT. Um,
Right.
tell stories. So there's more coming out, but I believe that by sharing the stories of what we've all been through and putting that pen to paper and letting the world know, if you're out there and you're feeling this way, you're not alone. We've been there, and here's some tools, here's some tips and tricks that
Yeah.
we've used. Hmm.
I will look forward for that because I kind of be in this. I mean, I share the same um, space with you, like in the sense, like, I'm an IT person.
Hmm.
I work in a healthcare IT company,
Hmm.
is what I have this podcast. And
Yeah.
at times it's not easy for me to kind of like, I don't agree that women still has a seat at the table.
Hmm.
Women's voice is still being heard, and I get talked over too. Um, but I struggle. At one point, I want to just repeat myself back again to sound it, hey, can you hear
Yep.
me? Whereas this, when do I, step back?
Yep.
That's fine. I don't care, and move on to the
Yep.
next step, right? It's kind of like, still figuring out, but what would you
Hmm.
say? Because I know we both share that sentiments, and we have been there, we have experienced stuff. I'm still trying to figure out in some ways on to overcome,
Hmm.
but I do feel like you gotta still come back with your voice stronger, gotta show
Hmm.
up. But what would you say for that?
Definitely show up. And I'll share a real world um, example of something that happened.
Yeah,
It's
please.
been about 18
Yeah,
months, but it's still very valid because it still happens. But I
yeah,
was in a meeting, I was the only woman, and I kept trying to talk. I kept
yeah,
trying to speak. We were talking, I think at the time, like chat bots and
yeah,
AI
yeah.
and what we were going to do for this healthcare
Mm-hmm.
client. Nobody would listen to. We were in a Teams meeting, and I kept thinking to myself, what am I going to do? They're
Right.
not listening. What I have to say adds value.
Yeah,
What should I do? So
yeah,
I raised my hand in Teams. I used the raise hand functionality, and I sat there.
yeah,
And then finally, somebody said, Emily, just so you're aware, your hand is raised. You should, we don't, you did that, I'm sure not on purpose. You could take that down. I said, no, actually, it's been 13 minutes and I've been trying to speak. So I raised my hand and I've been waiting
yeah,
for you.
yeah,
I was able to get myself together because I was angry,
yeah, yeah,
but
exactly.
also it did trigger something with one of the people who was in the room. They
Yeah,
realized what they had done,
yeah,
and each scenario can be so different. The one thing that I will say is that there are going to be times where you just can't win with a person.
yeah,
3 months ago, I was on a call and, you know, the person did not want to hear what I have to say. He just kept slamming his hands on his desk saying, I'll talk to who I want when I want, and didn't want to listen. So finally, I softened my tone. I
yeah,
stepped back and I said, okay. And I had to
yeah,
move on from that because in that
yeah,
scenario, the only person who was going to get upset was me. And I
yeah.
valued my own personal mental health that,
You're right.
more than
Definitely.
I did the relationship with the person who spoke to me in that way. No.
More power to you, Emily, because it's not easy.
Mm-mm.
So these are the questions that I did not prepare, but as we get into it, I think I
Yeah.
want to talk more about the woman in the
Yeah.
corporate, right?
Yeah.
Um, and because there are so many women out there, they're struggling. There's a
Hmm.
very small percentage up above. They're like larger. Even today in 2026, we still don't have a seat at the table. So
Hmm.
that worries me a bit. And especially
Hmm.
me coming from an Asian background. I'm a citizen of
Yeah.
United States, but I came from different country, and
Hmm.
I know more of. I'm more American than Indian right now because I lived the number of years that I lived here. It's
Yeah.
more than what I lived in India. But I'm a brown girl, so it's harder for me too. So what is it a woman overall? But even in that category, I do see Asian, are even more harder for us.
Yeah.
Um, but but I do want to get back to the woman overall.
Yeah.
What is the shift that we all need to do? Because I feel like, we're not doing enough. We're not empowering each other. If one goes top about, they need to
Mhm.
empower other teams around,
Yep.
which is not happening all the time. I'm not saying they don't do it, but it's
Yep.
not happening all the time because
Yeah.
we come with a different experience, or like, that Indra Nooyi says this. We are emotional being. So we think differently. We bring
Mhm.
that uniqueness to the table that not many understand. The
Yep.
minute you're aggressive, they can't take it. So
Yep.
let's talk about that. Your experience in.
Yeah. And, first of all, keep having this conversation because the more visibility we put out
Right,
into the world, the more people are
right,
aware of what's still happening. Um,
exactly.
the other thing I think that organizations are going to need to start to do are a couple of different things. One is there is foundational research that shows diverse teams sitting at a table are more innovative. They're
Right,
more they're they're more lucrative.
right,
There's such a band of innovation that happens when people from diverse backgrounds are sitting at the same table. So one, I think that collaboration is greater than competition. And I think that that's where people are going to have to lend to in order to be successful. It's also a
right.
very proven fact that organizations that are run by women do generate higher revenue. They have less turnover rates. There's
Hmm.
more leading with that empathy forward goes so far
Right,
in corporate cultures that they're going to
right,
have to raise awareness. I mean, it's expensive for turnover.
right,
Healthcare, it's particularly expensive in healthcare. I forgot what
right.
it's, I think it's like $25,000 for every person who turns over or something like that, just due to
Hmm.
the finding a replacement, the onboarding, the offboarding, everything that
Right.
happens, the numbers astronomical. Um,
Hmm.
so I think we're going to get to a point where just, the lack of diversity sitting at a table is going to become such a detriment to an organization who is trying to be financially lucrative and grow and expand. I look at AI.
Yeah.
AI is the perfect thing. AI is
Right,
a tool, but there's a
right,
human component that goes into developing that tool. And the more
right,
diverse backgrounds and people that you have sitting at the table when you're implementing that for your organization, the more you are going to be successful at what it is you're implementing because people look at it a completely different way than the
right.
person sitting next to them. So if you take all of that into consideration, when you put that out into the universe, good things are going to happen because you've
Yeah,
got that. So I do think keeping this conversation going, I think talking to as many people as you can,
yeah,
it can be challenging. It can be uncomfortable at first, and it can be
yeah.
uncomfortable at times still, but breaking through that comfort will help to break through that barrier. And
Right.
I do think too, it's going to get down to a financial or decisions that have to be made by organizations. There is just proof that diverse cultures truly are more innovative. They bring in higher revenue. They're more profitable, length of tenure. And the only other thing I'll add to that is reverse mentoring and the
Yeah.
importance of when you do have a younger generation come in, pairing them with somebody who's been in the workforce for a period of time. That relationship and what each person takes away from the time that they spend together is is just so beneficial. The person who maybe has been in corporate world for a while, being paired with somebody who's just coming in through an internship, they're going to learn new terminology, new ways of
Right.
thinking. The
Right.
younger person realizes what they're missing from having that institutional knowledge and that career perspective, and it
Hmm.
just does so much. So I hope I answered your question because it's like I
You
feel
you did.
so
You
passionate.
really did. You really did. Because the thing is, how do we empower more of the
Yeah.
women, and how do we make sure that they are getting seat at the table wherever they are,
Yeah.
whichever the corporation they are at working at, right? And
Mhm.
how do we as a woman who are like, in a role, how do we build that more?
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think I do feel like, you and I need to sit down with a few of the CEOs and CTOs or somebody to talk through this, come up with
Yeah.
this, ways and put it out there. I mean, just coming to my mind, I'm just sharing this.
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
related one, because I'm so
Mhm.
excited right now. So I do have this when I started mentoring in the company that I'm working at,
Mhm.
the how you mentor a man versus how you mentor a woman is totally two different things, two
Mm.
different way. Do you feel the same? No.
It needs to be the same. I mean, we need to be looking at a person as a person, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I I get that women are more empathetic. I get things of
Yeah.
that nature, but expose everybody to the same opportunity, the same challenges, the same
Mhm.
everything. If we continue to differentiate by gender, we're going to
It's not.
continue to,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just not
Good.
helping our situation at all. And the thing about it is it's okay that if I'm coaching you on a topic and you're a man and you feel different about it than I do, that's great. Let's have that conversation so that we each
Right.
understand our perspectives because you know what?
Right.
Understanding each other is going to make us better out in the corporate world as well. Put
That's
that
the
one
key.
done. Yeah.
Understanding each other. That's the
Yeah.
key. I asked this question intentionally because I know people have this conception of, hey, when you're mentoring a woman, it's slightly different than a man. So I just wanted to
Mm.
make sure, like, that is out there, clarified to
Yeah.
me. I agree with you. It's the energies that you're sharing, it's the
Yeah.
understanding sharing, whether it's a man or a woman, how do we, wherever they are at, the
Yeah.
tools and technology and the tools and the discussions and the process that you get them where they want to
Mhm.
be should be the same.
Yeah. I
Is
mean,
okay.
what, yeah, why are we looking at somebody based on their gender?
I
We should
like
be
that.
looking at that person as somebody who's competent, as somebody who's understanding, as somebody who deserves to be at this organization or at this table. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. What I want you to do is I want you to come
Yeah.
and learn my perspective. I'll learn your perspective. We'll learn how to, work
I'll
best with
work this
one
through.
another. Yeah. And if you look at it, sometimes my challenges in the workforce have been worse with the other women who are in the
Mm,
organization because
right.
there's such a competitive feeling about how there's so few seats at the table. I've
Yeah.
I've got to compete against you. When instead, if we worked together and we lifted each other up, and every
Yeah.
day we walked in and we knew we had somebody who we could count on, what a
Right.
different relationship and work culture.
That's the beautiful thing. It can change how we think and
Yep.
how we work. Perfect.
Yep.
And the results will be seen. So what's a belief most leaders hold about leadership that you think is completely wrong?
Um, I think sometimes that um, once people reach a certain level at an organization, they do not feel like they need to roll up their sleeves and help. And there's almost that air of um, I'm trying to think of the right word here, but it's almost an arrogance of when you get to a certain level in leadership. And my perspective is why?
Yeah.
Me being a CTO meant I should be treated no differently than my entire team. And if I was
Holy.
being treated differently, why?
Why?
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I think I think it's just, I look at it now. I was talking with somebody the other day and they said, well, because of your level, you probably actually don't go in and do any of the tech anymore. And I'm like, well, actually, 2 weeks ago we had a deadline.
Right?
And so
Yeah.
I had never done it before, but I had somebody show me what needed to be done. And I sat there and I worked, all weekend to make sure that we hit our
Right.
deadlines. It doesn't matter
Right.
what my title is.
Yeah.
What matters most is that the people who work with me feel supported and surrounded. So I think, the the lack of understanding it just because you have a certain title, it takes away responsibility from certain things of your team. I beg to differ so completely that because you are honored to be able to lead those team members, you roll up your sleeves, you sit with them, they know that you're supporting them.
That's perfect. So well said. So you have mentored hundreds of people. What's the single biggest mistake you see talented people make that holds them back?
Honestly, right now, I feel like work ethic is taking such a toll on what's holding people back.
Right.
And by that I mean we all work hard, and we do need to realize that work is not everything. And trust me, I am appreciative of that. But
Right.
we need to be understanding that there's going to be times where your work day is going to need to exceed the time that you have with your family. Uh, make sure that's not every day and flip those around as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
But I do see people saying, it's 4 o'clock, this will still be here tomorrow. Let's not worry about it. When maybe we should worry about it till 5 o'clock and just eke out. And trust me, and I don't want to make anybody angry because
Oh,
if
yeah.
anybody knows me,
Yeah.
family is one of my most important things. And I really think that more people should spend more time with their families. But I also do think that we have a problem in our workforce right now.
Yeah.
And when I'm coaching people, it's identify those critical, important moments where you staying and just doing a little bit extra is going to help out somebody or something. And that's going to be meaningful to the work that ultimately you want to do.
Yeah.
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 That's so well said. And that's the struggle most of us have, right? I mean, there are days where you have to spend
Hmm.
and you have to give more importance and
Yep.
you may sit down until 9 p.m. But there are
Yep.
days that cannot be the normal.
Yep.
Like
Absolutely.
I,
Last week I worked many days until 8 o'clock, but
yeah.
on Friday I knew I was going to see my daughter. So you know what? I called it a day at 9:10 after logging in at 9. Now I
Yeah.
realize not everybody has that flexibility, but
Yeah.
I think also the workforce is more adaptable to those type of arrangements now more than ever because we're used to working remotely. Set yourself up for those. Prove yourself in the work environment.
And I feel personally for myself, I have a great mentors and I'm blessed and I'm so thankful for all the mentors that I
Yeah.
have in my life. And I do feel that was so important for me to become aware and to
Hmm.
see and have a different perspective about how I look at work and
Yeah.
people, collaboration, everything, in maneuvering through this bureaucracy or the politics of the company or like the soft skills.
Hmm.
There's so many aspects that I learned from my mentors that I
Hmm.
could not have gotten through if I didn't
Yeah.
have them in my life, right? To where I
Yeah.
am today.
Yeah.
So tell me about, from your perspective, why the mentors are so important and why do you think like we should definitely have a mentor in life? And
Oh
can
yeah.
anybody have a mentor in life or is it just a leadership only? I mean, I just want to say this
Uh,
because I want
yeah.
everybody to hear that.
Everybody should have at least one mentor, if not an army of mentors.
Right.
I think sometimes when we use the word mentor, it's big, right? We think of
Yeah.
big, long relationships. But for me, I've got people who, if I have a problem with a specific, you know, type of issue, I know that I can reach out to that person. They're going to mentor me, help me through it, talk me through it. And it may be 15 minutes. Now,
Yeah.
I've had longer relationships with mentors. And I'll never forget when my very first consulting job was for training in
Mhm.
pharmaceuticals. So I was
Mhm.
contracted by Pfizer to do some training, and I walked into a world that I'd never been a part of. And a
Yeah.
woman, Cindy Otterman, if she's listening, she was standing in front of the room and she presented, and I said, I want to be her when I grow up. Like I want to be
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I remember the very first training I did in Vermont. It was terrible. It crashed, it burned, not from anything I did, but from just the tech perspective. And I called her and it's okay. We'll move on to the next one. Take away.
Mhm.
And to this day, it just that phone call,
That's
that
stayed with you.
mentorship
Yeah.
relationship is so important. And I
Right.
really, you know, find the top 5 things you want in life. Go out on LinkedIn and find people who are doing those things. Connect with them. Ask them
Yeah.
for a phone call. You know,
Right.
100% you can set up professional mentorship relationships. I know a lot of organizations provide them, but go find people who are doing what you want to do in the world and just talk to them and have them in your corner. That's a mentor as well,
That's
so
you're gonna be mine too.
yes, please. Right back
my
at you.
go to my go-to person. so I so if you could go back and tell your, when you were 25, you want to go back that younger self
Hmm.
and tell about like, hey, what's the one thing, like, whatever it is, what is the one thing that would it be that, hey, if I knew this, my life would have been better.
Yeah.
Right, and who did nobody told you, but then you learned it on the way, and now you're aware. But what is that you're going to go back and tell your younger self?
Use my voice sooner. So I
Powerful.
was I was voted quietest in my class. If you go on LinkedIn, I recently posted a picture of
Yeah,
me in the yearbook with the
yeah,
Aquanet hair and everything else, and I was quiet. I
right.
I
Yeah,
didn't talk.
yeah,
I it's not that I didn't necessarily have anything to say, it's that I was very shy.
yeah.
And it was uncomfortable for me to talk to people. Uh, Now I sit on a podcast, once a week and share my voice out with, thousands of people who are around the globe, and it blows my mind.
Right.
I also was very afraid to speak up at work. If something was happening to me,
Mm-hmm.
whether it was what I felt was something that really was because I was a woman, or, felt too uncomfortable, bumping into senior leadership, giving my opinion and thoughts on something, you know, that took me a heck of a long time to overcome. Um, so if I could go back, I'd tell myself to speak sooner,
I love it.
speak up.
Can, I just love it. Use your voice. Use you. Right. Believe in your
Hmm.
voice.
Yep.
Can I? As you were talking, this question came to me. I still. It's been like, my journey is 25 plus years in the healthcare IT company too.
Hmm.
But I still have that feeling that, you know, itchy in my tummy when I have to pitch an idea to a senior leadership. And I don't feel
Hmm.
comfortable when they're around. I feel small. I feel like I
Yeah.
want to hide away.
Yeah.
Why is that? And what should one do to overcome that?
I think it's just since for me, growing up, when somebody was in a leadership position, my parents always told me, be careful how you speak.
Mm,
Respect this, respect that. I look at my dad when he was in the hospital. He would not challenge his doctor whatsoever. I'm there
mm,
going, "Are you sure about that?"
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that background of growing up, and for me
Yeah.
personally, sometimes I still feel that way. Like I'm going to
Mm,
speak, but do they care about what I'm saying? What if they
right.
hate my idea? But you know what?
Right.
If you spent time on it and you care about it, that's going to come through in the way that you're presenting, and that's going to
Love it.
come through in the way that you're speaking to others. And I think there is power in saying, I'm a
Yeah.
little bit nervous. I'm not gonna lie. Or if you flub up a word, oops, that
And
happened.
it's okay, right? Yeah.
And it's okay. And you know what? Even if something goes, I think about times where I've completely flopped at something, and I'm like,
Mm,
I,
it
I'll
is.
I'll lament over it for a minute, but if I don't move on
Yeah.
from it, how can I go change something else and change how I do my next type of pitch? So
Yeah.
I think it's normal to feel that way, but
Right.
what I will say is that you are smart and you know what you do, and you have a whole world of people who are out here cheerleading for you. And that goes for, every single thing that you do. And in those moments where you're not quite sure and you feel that pit, think about those that are behind you, because we're there and we're cheering you on. You deserve to be there. And
I love
even if they say no, you gave it a shot. Like you put your
it.
ideas out there. Big deal. Big deal if they say no.
I love it. So another, okay, this is the last question before the last one.
Yeah.
Um, the perception. People create perception very quickly. There are different type of people that you are going to be working with in the
Mhm.
corporate world. They're quick in judging you. They're quick in getting that perception in their mind, and they will not come out of that perception, no
Mhm.
matter how. Because I have a belief that every human being who really are working on themselves grooming
Mhm,
themselves every single day, they are going
mhm.
to change. They're not going to be the same tomorrow. But
Yep,
if they created a perception and it's hard to change, what should one do? Or
that's on them.
okay, that's it.
I mean that is on them. And you know what? It's going to get to a point where their stereotype is just so much that it prohibits growth,
Right.
that that they have to deal with that themselves. They have to deal with the position that they put themselves in.
Mm,
Um, as we are kind of chatting before we started recording, I really do believe that, nobody's perfect. Nobody's like
oh, goodness. Yeah.
anything, but why would you stereotype somebody? Why would you think just because she's a female, she has nothing to say? That is
Yeah.
100% on that other person. And if they
Right.
want to live their life with such a tunneled view of the world, they're missing out on something spectacular. Like if they won't work with somebody because they're a female, you just lost out on the opportunity to learn something from somebody who cares, who's passionate. That's their
Right.
fault. That's their tunnel vision. For the
That is
rest of
true.
us, just keep putting great things out into the world. And you know what? At some point, they're either going to have just pigeonholed themselves out of growth and they'll
Yeah.
be stagnant while the
Yeah.
rest of us thrive,
Yeah.
or their vision needs to change. So I say
Awesome.
keep showing up, let them deal with whatever the output is.
Beautiful. So, Emily, what I would say to summarize and how you're saying is don't worry proving yourself. Do what you need to do every single day. Don't worry about
Yeah.
it. Keep it going. Show up every day. Perfect.
I mean, you show up,
Yeah.
keep putting great stuff out there.
Yeah.
I like to say we're trying to put positive into the universe and hope it has a
Yes.
ripple effect. And the
Yes.
same thing is true for so many other topics. If we keep putting that just information and positive and just good things come out of that, let
Yes.
everybody else stay over to the side.
Right. You know, I read this book, um, The Law of Human Nature, recently. And I'm a spiritual person, and
Mhm,
I believe in energy, and I work on myself every single day. It's
mhm.
kind of building that muscle, and
Yeah.
it has, you got to work and you got to drain out all the negativity if there is anything, and keep putting yourself
Hmm.
back
Yes.
into positive mode. But what you just said is so, so, so powerful. So I want to repeat that, like, put the positive intent out there in the universe
Yep.
and keep your energy safe and, protect and make it more positive.
Yep.
Your life will go on. Keep showing up, keep doing your work. I
A
love
hundred
it.
percent.
I really love it. So, Emily, the last question. Anybody listening to our conversation, what do you want them to take away the most powerful three things or five things, the tools and techniques on how they want to move on in their life from a leadership perspective or a human?
So I think one is continue to be yourself. I mean, I think if you try to fit into a mold, if you try to think into and morph into a person that you just think others think you should be, you're going to be miserable. Life's short. Don't be
Yeah,
miserable. I mean, we're all going to have our hard days, but don't fit into a mold. Go out there, be yourself. Don't apologize for it.
yeah,
I think the other thing is speak up. Please use your voice. There's so many different ways to do that. It's, connecting, just reach out to
yeah,
somebody randomly, have that connection, have that time. I think it's tell your story. Again, it's use your voice that you've been given. And I just think that's so powerful. I think kindness is always going to be one of the things that we just need to go through. And, you know,
yeah,
if people don't think kindness is supposed to be in the workplace, then I ask them to call me and let's have a conversation of that, because I feel like the more we
yeah.
put out there, because we are working so much, it just let's be kind to one another. We'll get things
Right,
done. Diverse
right,
perspectives, those need to
right.
be out there. Um, And I think we all need to project into our daily lives good things. And that's really what I want. That's it's my message for the podcast when people come on is to, share the good, the bad, the ugly, but share yourself and your story because it will mean something to somebody and help inspire them to make a change. And, I
Right.
have a speech that I use and it's called um, leading with love. And love stands for levity. Don't forget to
Right.
laugh every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can put out so many tense situations by just learning how to laugh. Be
Right.
objective.
Right.
If somebody's coming to you with a problem in a leadership role, look at things objectively. Look at the
Hmm.
data.
Hmm.
Don't let the emotion of the situation come over you and
Right.
then you're making poor decisions. Look at things objectively. Be vulnerable.
Right. Yeah.
If you don't know how to handle a situation,
Yeah.
tell somebody. Be vulnerable in the way that you're responding. And then empathy. If somebody messes up, if the worst scenario happens,
Yeah.
approach it with empathy because as much as you're trying to respond to it from a leadership perspective, they're trying to figure out how they're going to respond to it from a team member perspective. So I
Right.
would say
Right.
leading with love will help to really put good cultures together, and that just lets us all thrive.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I enjoyed every bit of our discussion. And thank you so much, Emily, for being here with me on Podcast with Shruti.
Well, thank you for having me. What an honor to be here.
Thank you.